In late January 2026, an unusually powerful winter storm developed over the southeastern United States and the Bahamas, bringing strong winds and big waves that would dramatically impact cruise itineraries in the region. Two major cruise ships, Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas and Celebrity Cruises' Celebrity Reflection, found themselves unable to visit any scheduled ports of call, turning their voyages into what is commonly called a cruise to nowhere. Wonder of the Seas was originally slated to visit Perfect Day at CocoCay and Nassau, Bahamas, popular stops on Bahamas-bound sailings. However, the advancing storm brought conditions that were too dangerous for safe docking. Rather than risk passengers and crew in the high winds and rough seas, the ship's itinerary was adjusted so that both scheduled port days were replaced with sea days, meaning the vessel remained at sea instead of pulling into harbor. At the same time, Celebrity Reflection, on a short 3-night weekend cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, faced a similar dilemma. This ship was scheduled to visit Key West, Florida and Bimini, Bahamas, but as the storm approached more quickly than expected, the forecasted high winds made both stops unsafe. According to a letter distributed to passengers on board, the ship's captain and the cruise line's meteorology team determined that conditions would make Key West unsafe to approach or depart from by midday, leading to its cancellation. The plan to at least salvage a partial stop in Bimini was also scrapped after port authorities closed the facility due to unsafe winds. As a result, Celebrity Reflection ended up sailing without any ports of call at all, a rare occurrence, especially for cruise ships departing from the United States. Under U.S. law, specifically the Passenger Vessel Services Act of 1886, foreign-flagged cruise ships that begin their journey in the U.S. are generally required to visit at least one foreign port before returning. Because of the storm, this requirement was waived under the unusual circumstances, allowing the ship to complete its scheduled time at sea instead. The waiver of the Passenger Vessel Services Act was a critical financial save for the cruise line. Without this rare government exemption due to weather, Celebrity Cruises could have faced a penalty of nearly $941 per passenger for failing to visit a foreign port. For a full ship, this fine would have amounted to millions of dollars in losses, on top of the compensation already paid to guests. To help passengers cope with the unexpected changes, Celebrity Cruises offered onboard credit as compensation. The amount varied by cabin type. For example, passengers in inside or outside staterooms received $150 each. Veranda stateroom guests got $200, and suite guests were given $400. All prepaid shore excursions for the canceled stops were automatically refunded as onboard credits, and additional smaller credits were applied for third and fourth guests in the same cabin. Cruise lines are not obligated to provide compensation when ports are canceled. Their contracts give them the right to alter or cancel any part of the itinerary at any time for safety reasons. But the onboard credit was offered as a goodwill gesture to help soften the disappointment of missing the planned visits. This weather-related disruption was not isolated. Other ships in the region, including Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas, Liberty of the Seas, and Wonder of the Seas, had their itineraries changed due to the same storm system. Some ports were closed entirely for safety reasons, and several cruise lines, including Carnival, Disney, and Norwegian, had to reroute or adjust their sailings due to the severe weather. This massive winter storm didn't just affect Florida. It appears to be part of the same volatile weather system that forced the Norwegian breakaway to flee back to New York early. While the Wonder of the Seas and Celebrity Reflection were battling high winds in the Bahamas, the storm's northern edge was creating the bomb cyclone conditions that froze New York Harbor. In the end, what was meant to be a relaxing cruise to scenic island destinations turned into an unusually long stretch at sea for many passengers. The storm highlighted how powerful weather systems can disrupt even well-planned itineraries and underscored the priority that cruise lines place on safety when conditions turn dangerous. Turning a voyage into a cruise to nowhere changes the entire dynamic on board. With no passengers disembarking for Key West or Bimini, the ship's crew likely had to scramble to double the entertainment schedule. Pool decks become overcrowded, and buffets face higher demand as thousands of guests remain trapped on board for the entire weekend, testing the crew's ability to keep morale high despite the disappointment.